The Republic of Korea, or South Korea, has a long and rich history steeped in tradition and culture that has only recently taken the world stage. A country once only really known because of the war on the peninsula from 1950 to 1953, and the actions of its tumultuous northern neighbor, has become a global economic powerhouse with technology and heavy industry nearing the best in the world. But South Korea has another powerful factor to its rise in global influence: K-pop, or Korean pop music, a global sensation which has taken the world by storm in the 2010 decade. To a lot of people is represented by huge international artists like BTS and BLACKPINK. However, K-pop has a rich and long history that started much longer before even the Korean War. Today, let's look at the history of K-pop. The beginnings of Korean popular music can be traced back to before the Korean War and even the occupation by Japan in the year 1885. At the time, the Kingdom of Joseon was a monarchy with ancient traditions and an ancient belief system. Labeled by Western nations as a country of pagan religions, many missionaries made it their goal to evangelize Joseon with Christianity. Henry Appenzeller was one such Methodist Christian missionary. He came to Joseon to set up churches and schools under the message of Christianity. It was at his institutions that he taught many young Koreans the melodies of various American and British folk songs. The introduction of Western music had started, and over the next 130 years, it would evolve into what we now know as K-pop. Many of the Western song melodies were adapted with Korean lyrics to create a genre of music never heard by the people of Joseon. This became known as changa, which laid the groundwork for the transition between strictly traditional music to modern music. In 1897, the Kingdom of Joseon was dissolved, and the Empire of Korea was formed with the same ruling monarchy. It didn't last long, however, as the Empire of Japan formally annexed Korea in 1910, and with it, Japanese influence seeped into all aspects of life, including Korean music. The first modern album by today's description was created in 1927 by Park Chae-sun and Lee Ryu-sek, called 이 풍진 세월, or This Tumultuous Time, which was simply translated versions of Japanese songs. While it was the first album in a modern sense, the first truly original Korean creation didn't come until 1929 with Nakwa Yusu, or Falling Blossoms on Running Water by Lee Jung-soo. During the 1920s, another type of music known as trot began forming, which in the modern day holds its own unique style and audience. Trot still exists side by side with modern K-pop today. During the 1930s, several artists such as Jogori Sisters, Wang Subo, and Ian Pa found success in modern music and laid down the foundations for more modern K-pop. But the advent of World War II and the following liberation from Japan in 1945 created opportunities for more modern foreign influence on Korean music and the freedom to truly grow. Following the liberation of Korea from Japan in 1945, Korea was partitioned into what we now know as South Korea and North Korea, with the United States having a presence in the South and the former Soviet Union being administrators of the North. With the establishment of an American presence in the South, American-run businesses gave many everyday South Korean citizens exposure to Western music. What was completely unknown to South Koreans only a decade earlier had started to become a staple of music in the ears of many young citizens. On June 25, 1950, North Korea invaded the South, and so began what we now know today as the Korean War. The terrible conflict lasted until July 27, 1953, when an armistice was signed that officially split the Korean peninsula in two and halted the fighting. Following the war, American forces made a presence in South Korea by establishing US military bases which still exist today. During this time, huge American names such as Nat King Cole, Marilyn Monroe, and Louis Armstrong visited Korea during official USO tours, exposing Koreans to Americans face to face, leaving a profound impact. The late 1950s and 1960s saw the rise of the Beatles, which saw a trend in vocal groups, to which Korea quickly followed suit. Big groups for the time, including the Silver Bell Sisters, Lily Sisters, and the Kim Sisters, all went on to find success in South Korea. The Kim Sisters made headlines as they were the first to release an album in the US, which was headed by their version of Charlie Brown in 1959. Their success led to the album reaching number 7 on the Billboard Hot Singles chart, as well as 25 appearances on the highly successful Ed Sullivan Show, more than many big-named US artists. As radio, TV, and broadcasting infrastructure was built up in a war-torn South Korea, and music started becoming more accessible, the trends of the 1970s and the 1980s would start to form the current form of K-pop we know today. In the 1970s, disco and funk music made a profound impact on the Korean music scene. The electronic sound of the disco era led to the creation of the first modern interpretation of the dance artist, with performers in South Korea incorporating dances of the day into club performances. Trot singer Namjin became well known for his flamboyant performing style akin to Elvis Presley. The 1970s also saw the influence of the hippie era onto modern folk music. In America and other Western countries, the Vietnam War promoted a peace and love movement among musicians and many conscientious objectors against the war. Western artists like Bob Dylan, John Lennon, and Leonard Cohen injected free thinking and freedom into their music, which was adopted by many youths of South Korea at the time. A tumultuous political landscape in South Korea during the 1970s led to the ban of American pop music, South Korean rock, and many songs criticizing the government at the time. Legendary folk singer Han Dae-soo found popularity among many young people with songs like 물 좀 주소 or Give Me Water. Being extremely progressive for the time, he was banned from performing on a public platform and moved to the US, only returning in the 1990s. If there is one genre of music that is almost universally embraced in the Korean music market, that genre is the Korean interpretation of the ballad. Songs meant to evoke emotion with meaningful lyrics found their place in the 1980s as a staple in the public conscience. Lee Kwang-jo's album, 가까이 하기엔 너무 먼 당신, You're Too Far Away to Get Close To, released in 1985, and lit the fuse for what would become what we now know as the K-ballad. Other popular ballad singers, such as Lee Moon-se and the Prince of Ballads, Byun Jin-seop, helped solidify this trend. Among all the ballad singers, one struck a chord with international audiences. Jo Yong-pil found great success in Korea and went on to perform in Hong Kong, Japan, and was the first Korean singer to perform in New York City's legendary Carnegie Hall. He eventually went on to sing the song Seoul, Seoul, Seoul to celebrate the 1988 Olympic Games in Seoul, South Korea. During the 1980s, the rise of trends in the US led to yet another genre of music finding itself slowly growing in South Korea. Hip-hop influences began appearing in South Korean music, and it would mark the beginning of what we now identify as modern K-pop. In most circles, the first K-pop idol is universally accepted to be Seo Taiji and the Boys, made up of members Seo Taiji, Lee Juno, and Yang Hyun-seok. Their debut in 1992 was met with great success and established a young rebellious image with electric sound and early iterations of modern choreographed dance. They went on to release 4 albums in the 1990s, with all of them selling well over 1 million units each. With the formula in place, K-pop had begun, and with it the idol system was created, and many of the largest modern K-pop agencies were formed. Businessman Lee Ho-yeon formed DSP Media in 1991. Record producer and former singer Lee Soo-man formed SM Entertainment in 1995. Former Seo Taiji and the Boys member Yang Hyun-seok formed YG Entertainment in 1996. And singer Park Jin-young formed JYP Entertainment in 1997. These 4 companies led the birth of K-pop, with SM Entertainment debuting H.O.T, or High Five of Teenagers, and their debut single Candy led to great success. H.O.T's early music was a turn from the gritty nature of Korean rock musicians and ballads of the past with a more bubblegum pop style. SM Entertainment also debuted the female counterpart to H.O.T, dubbed SES, in 1997. They found huge success with their debut album, I'm Your Girl, and went on to sell 650,000 units. With each agency having their own theme or color, many agencies went on to debut idols that would achieve great domestic success, including Jaeskiss, Pinkle, NRG, Babybox, Diva, and Shinhwa. The success of idol groups in the 1990s was recognized by the government, and the exporting of Korean soft power started with many of these artists performing in China and Japan. The Asian financial crisis of 1997, or IMF, saw a huge downturn in the Korean economy, to which many artists started releasing albums overseas. This showed the influence K-pop held, to which the Ministry of Culture supported by building infrastructure and setting policies that would be beneficial to K-pop artists. In the early 2000s, many groups that had found success in the 1990s began to decline in popularity, and many of them ended up disbanding. Several members from these groups, such as Gangta, Ihyori, Munijun, Bada, and Okjuhyun, went on to establish successful solo careers. For a brief time, solo musicians were at the forefront of K-pop, as several artists debuted with unique music styles and intense choreography. SM Entertainment's BoA, JYP Entertainment's Rain, and YG Entertainment's Seven went on to find great domestic success. Korean-grown dramas and music began to find popularity in many countries at this time, and one particular artist made a huge leap from Korean star to Asian star. BoA, who was only a teenager when she debuted in Korea, made her debut in Japan and was met with great success. Learning Japanese, promoting in Japan, and making music that had Japanese influence for better assimilation, BoA released her debut Japanese album, Listen to My Heart, which went on to sell over 1 million records. Coming back and forth from Korea to Japan, BoA established a lane of international promotions for K-pop artists that was the first big step in making K-pop a global entity. As the 2000s went on, many groups debuted and found success in both Japan and Korea. TVXQ, SS501, Super Junior, and Big Bang all displayed unique charms that would build huge fan bases. It wasn't until 2007, with the debut of Wonder Girls, that the viral song trend existing today was created. Tell Me, their debut track, went on to be a national and international hit. With a super catchy and addictive hook, the song structure and sound became an example of what would become hook music that many idols would end up adopting. A prime example would be Girls' Generation, G, which at the time was considered to be Wonder Girls' rival group. Both groups maintained a friendly rivalry and found massive success. As time went on and sounds evolved, the 2000s saw the rise of many successful groups such as 2PM, Kara, SHINee, 21, Tiara, FX, and After School. With K-pop taking hold of the lion's share of the Asian music market, it was only a matter of time before the rest of the world would be exposed to the influence of K-pop. The 2010s saw a huge influx of K-pop idol debuts, with smaller agencies trying their hand at debuting idols with the proven idol formula. But the big three agencies continued to debut idols that found massive success, including SM Entertainment's EXO and Red Velvet, JYP Entertainment's GOT7, Day6 and Twice, and YG Entertainment's BLACKPINK and Winner. Smaller agencies managed to grow in a short time and became behemoths in the industry in their own right. Pledis Entertainment found success with New East and 17. Starship Entertainment did so while debuting Sista and Monsta X, and RBW found a niche with vocal powerhouse group Mamamoo. Social media at this time had completely changed the way marketing was handled in the K-pop sphere, and led to an unexpected viral hit with Psy's Gangnam Style in 2012. The music video was the first to garner 1 billion views on YouTube and brought much attention to South Korea all over the world. While Psy had a global hit on his hands and K-pop idols in Korea continued finding massive success domestically and in Asia. BLACKPINK, from YG Entertainment, also set the world on fire with their massive success and pushed Korean girl groups to the next level. Their album, Born Pink, was the first K-pop girl group to hit the top off the Billboard Top 200, also setting 2 Guinness World Records. Their Born Pink tour also became the highest-grossing tour by a female group, as well as the first Asian act to headline the popular Coachella Music Festival. Their YouTube channel is officially the most subscribed and most viewed music artist on the platform, and the most followed and most streamed girl group on the Spotify music streaming platform. They also have several wins from prestigious American music awards like Billboard, People's Choice, and the MTV Music Video Award, where they were recognized as the first winner of the Group of the Year in the 21st century. They are also the first girl group to be featured on Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia and were named Time's 2022 Entertainer of the Year, among many other accolades. A small group from a relatively unknown agency was bubbling not just in Korea, but in the most sought-after market, the US. BTS, or 방탄소년단, Bulletproof Boy Scouts, was at the time a hip-hop K-pop group that had debuted in Korea in 2013 and were working fervently to make a name for themselves. The CEO of their label Big Hit Music, Bang Seo, emphasized the need to make relatable music and had them exposed to the US through various shoots early on in their career. As they gained momentum in Korea, they released albums and held concert tours that resonated with Western audiences and officially launched them into superstardom on a level never before seen by a K-pop idol. With attention firmly grasped in the US, they were the first K-pop act to be invited to the Billboard Music Awards, and at the 24th ceremony, they won Top Social Artist, which exposed them to even wider audiences. Following this, many of their albums went gold or platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America and were invited to perform at the American Music Awards. They were also the first Korean act to perform at the Grammy Awards and the MTV Video Music Awards, both of which are highly coveted in the US. In 2020, BTS became the first Korean act to be nominated for a Grammy Award for their song Dynamite at the 62nd Grammy Awards, and again the next year for Butter, which debuted at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. Their philanthropic message was also further spread through speeches at the United Nations, as well as work with various non-profit organizations. Starting in 2022, the first BTS member enlisted in mandatory military service, with all of them set to return together in 2025. BTS had built up Big Hit Music into a conglomerate, which had absorbed many other big agencies such as Source Music and Pledis Entertainment. It had officially dethroned SM Entertainment as the biggest and most successful entertainment agency under its new name, HYBE. K-pop is showing no signs of slowing down. New groups and artists are constantly debuting and doing their part to carve a name for themselves and helping to promote Korean culture overseas. What started from folk songs over 130 years ago in a small unknown nation in the East has grown into one of the most recognized sounds throughout the world. Matching only South Korea's booming economy, South Korea's culture is still growing and has proven that South Korea has a seat on the world stage. If you like this video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe so you can see more videos just like this.